Every single one of us has an internal compass. It's called your intuition, right? And the more that we tap into that, the more we are able to really get to know ourselves so that we're able to like peel back that onion almost to get down to our core and say, this is me. This is what I bring to the table. Here's how I can impact you. So for me, it took a very wild spiritual awakening to do that. And a lot of lows. I was just laid off my job, no money for 6 months. I had no clue what the hell I was doing. And I was fine, like investing, I was betting on myself. It was petrifying.
Yeah.
But through all that, I found my intuition.
Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the quantum coaching certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm super pumped because we have a topic that we haven't talked too much about. And I know a lot of you are starting your own businesses, whether you want to be a coach or not, or start a digital business or not. I think every single business needs the topic that I have a guest on for you to hear about today. So I have Gabrielle Laura all up in it today. She is going to be sharing about creating your $1 million niche. Okay. Which is so amazing. She is a niche expert, personal brand coach who helps women find their niche and communicate their values so that they build a personal brand that sells itself. Who doesn't want to sell themselves through their brand? So I'm super excited. I know that you are, crushing it with everything that you're doing. So just please welcome and share and all. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, thank you so much. And yeah, I love how you said too, like, who doesn't want a brand that just sells itself? And that's it. Like we make selling so hard, right? But if we just truly stepped into like what the universe put us here to do and own that with conviction, people gravitate and people want it. So I'm so excited to talk about that today. And as Ashley said, my name's Gabrielle. I'm a niche expert and a personal brand coach, and I help people find their niches and really step into what they were put here to do, own that so that they create that personal brand that sells itself. So we're going to be diving into all of the fun things around niches today. I'm really excited.
I'm excited too. So I feel like niching specifically is so challenging for so many people. Was it challenging for you when you first started your business?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. And I always say it took me 26 years to find my niche. I started my business at 26 years ago when I was laid off from my tech sales job in New York. And this was just the start of COVID. The world was so uncertain, but I've known my whole life that I wanted to start a business. I just had no idea what my business would be. I was a little girl telling my parents, I will be a business owner one day. And people would always say, well, what business? I don't know. And I just looked at the clock. It's 11:11. And it's like, I don't know. And what happened for me personally was that I grew up, I went to, public school systems, and I just was not taught in a way that I retained information. So I did awful in school. I got into college in the skin of my teeth. I had teachers tell me I was stupid. I had teachers tell me, do not go to college. It's a waste of money. And so I grew up truly believing that. So that little girl spark that I had of I'm going to own my own business turned to I have nothing to bring to the table. I don't have any skills. I'm not smart. I got bad grades. That means I'm not going anywhere. And I believed that for so long. And it wasn't until I was laid off from that job, that rug was ripped out from underneath my family, that I said, screw this, I'm figuring it out. That's what I did. But yeah, it is very hard. Whenever I go through like a pivot in my business, it is so hard for me to figure it out.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that. I feel like it's so relatable. And I mean, similarly, my guidance counselor was like, yeah, you need to just apply to community college. Like you're not going to be like going far, basically.
Yeah.
It's just so limiting. It's so messed up to plant those seeds. You think it would be the opposite in our school systems. And yeah, I'm really glad that you shared that. So coming into your business, how did that shift for you? Like, I totally get like being like, pivoting and all of that, but like, what was that like when you finally were like, no, I did this, like I started this thing?
It took a wild spiritual awakening is what it
Yeah.
took. I did not make money in my business for 6 months. And I always share that because I was doing what I felt I should be doing, what everyone else was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let me do this because she's doing that and she's making a boatload of money. And here's her strategy on how to do it. Let me do that. But just like it correlates back to my school days, I don't learn like that. Right. And I guarantee so many of your listeners don't either. And it's so easy in the age of social media to say, let me just pick up my phone and she's killing it. Let me just copy what she's doing. Oh,
Yeah.
she's taking these kinds of pictures. Let me do that. She's saying these words. Let me say those. That is not your authentic self saying that. Right. It's like your ego is just like trapped onto that and those limiting beliefs. And it's just, we're ignoring our internal compass.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of us has an internal compass. It's called your intuition, right? And the more that we tap into that, the more we are able to really get to know ourselves so that we're able to like peel back that onion almost to get down to our core and say, this is me. This is what I bring to the table. Here's how I can impact you. So for me, it took a very wild spiritual awakening to do that. And a lot of I was just laid off my job, no money for 6 months. I had no clue what the hell I was doing. And I was fine, like investing, I was betting on myself. It was petrifying.
Yeah.
But through all that, I found my intuition.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I feel like through all that, most people would quit. They'd be like, this isn't working. And it's like in the movie The Secret, where they talk about like the seed that's planted and it's like just starting to sprout. And you're like, this isn't working. But you actually found yourself in that process and your intuition, and it allowed you to create a beautiful business.
It was just, there was a 0.1% that said, keep going. And 99.9 was like, you are a freaking failure, sister. Just throw in the bag and go back to that 9-to-5 life. And I refused, but it was a journey.
It always is. So I train coaches to become coaches, life coaches, spiritual coaches, whatever kind of coach you could be. We train them in all the coaching modalities through QCA. And I feel like this is so relevant for those coaches who are literally just graduated. We just had graduates come out of the program 2 weeks ago. And they're at the same point, right? Where they're like, okay, I've just heavily invested in myself. And I know that I'm starting this business and I know what to do now. My craft is on point, right?
Right.
How do I find my people? How do I find my niche? How do I find my thing? And it can seem really overwhelming because they're so versatile in their coaching, they can help anyone with anything.
Right. Yeah.
So can you break that down a little bit about how to actually find your $1 million niche?
Absolutely. So I would say that this is twofold, guys. So number one is understanding, like I define niche like very in depth because I think it's really important. And I want to share that definition with you as you walk this journey. So knowing your niche is so much more than who you serve and what your business is. That's a big part of it because those two components are so important. But what's arguably more important is understanding what it is that you bring to the table. What is your uniqueness, right? Like, what is that sweet spot where there could be a million life coaches, right? Because there's a ton out there, but what is it that Ashley brings to the table? What is it that Gabrielle brings to the table that's just a little different that helps you stand out amongst the noise? Because every single one of us has something. And I always say, everybody has a seat at the table. You just have to be willing to pull it out for yourself. And that's it. So it's really understanding that, because once you understand your uniqueness, you're then able to communicate your value. Then you're able to say, this is what my business is and who I serve. And start to find your people. So the niche is very in depth. So I wanted to share that as the first part. Now, how do you actually figure that out? It's not easy. And I wish that it was like, oh, just do this and you're fine. But the framework of it is, it comes from your story. It comes from something that you have experienced in your life. For example, when I talked about how my whole schooling journey, not making money for 6 months, my spiritual awakening, through all of that, I found my intuition. The way that I find people's niches is I sit with them and my intuition goes off. It's like, that's Ashley Sweet. Like, that's it right there. We find that alignment together and go. So you have something inside of you from your story like that you have experienced. Even if you're rolling your eyes right now and you're like, Gabby, I swear nothing I bring to the table. So here's what I want you to do is I want you to sit down and I want you to write out your story. I want you to pretend like me or Ashley is sitting across the table from you at Starbucks. What's your story? Write it all down and do pen to paper. World of a difference over typing it on the computer. Write out your story and then go for a walk. Like, just go walk the dog, go check the mail, just get outside, go for a car ride, just step away. When you come back, I want you to write out 3 to 5 riffs. So a riff is something that you could speak on, like no sweat off your back. You're meeting me for the first time. What could you talk to me about? Like, no pressure. Write that out. And then again, just go step away. Even if like you go take a nap or you revisit this tomorrow, like step away and then come back in your most judgment-free mindset that you can possibly put together right now. And I want you to circle the transformational experiences in your story. So that means, when did you go from down in the dumps? And I say that lightly because it doesn't have to be this rags to riches story, but when were you just a little less? And then you got yourself over the bridge to a little bit more, right? Even if it's one step ahead. Circle those transformational experiences and then look at your riffs. And I can guarantee you that there is going to be similarities between those riffs and those transformational experiences. And when you do this judgment-free, that niche comes to you. Your niche is sitting right there. Your uniqueness, it's right there. And I'll give you an example. A client of mine went through this phase in college where she got very bad anxiety, was emotional eating. She put on some weight and she was just very depressed, unhappy, didn't recognize herself. One day, she just woke up and was like, enough is enough. I'm going to do it. But she was terrified to walk into the gym. She was like so scared. She didn't recognize her body. She was intimidated by all the people in there, but she learned how to just get back in the gym. Even if it was walking on the treadmill for 5 minutes and leaving, she just learned how to do it. So now what her business is she's a shy girl fitness coach. She helps the shy girls who are afraid to go to the gym just get back into the gym. That's her uniqueness. And every single one of you guys has something there. So just lean into it. And I will say it can be hard to find yourself. So just give yourself grace and patience with it. Like, I do this all the time for my people. And when I have to do it to myself, like, I need help because I'm just like, it's hard.
That process is so powerful. Absolutely love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. So if you're struggling with this, do what Gabrielle just told you to do, because that could be really eye-opening for you. Like, truly, that's amazing. I absolutely love that.
And like, ask the universe for help, right? Sit down and say like, universe, I'm ready to step into my power.
Yeah.
I understand that, what I've been doing up to now hasn't been feeling in alignment. It's time for me to step into my power. I ask you to please guide me on this journey and allow that.
I love that you said that too, because I'm very similar in like the way that I would ask for help. Like, I would do something like that when I was looking for my purpose. I asked for help, right? I asked my angels, I asked my guides, all the things. And I think that is a game changer, because when you try and find your niche from your head, it's really, really hard, as opposed to like being in your heart, right? Like, your stories in your heart. Right. You can ask the universe from your heart. Like, you're not asking from like trying to figure it out. And I find that when people are like in that headspace, it's really, really challenging to actually find it, because you're overthinking it most of the time. Or I don't know if you've noticed this, but people choose niches based on what they think is going to make them the most money.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. Yes. And it's like, well, I see what she's doing and she looks like she's killing it and she's a business coach. So I'm going to become a business coach, even though I really, really, really want to help people with manifesting, but
Right.
I'm scared to step into that spiritual side of it, right? Like whatever it may be, like there are billions of dollars out there. Abundance is endless for you. If you chase the money, it's just going to run further. Like I always say that.
I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. This is awesome. I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
So let's talk about spiritual coaches, right? So when I started my business, I was a spiritual manifestation coach. And I think to Gabrielle's point, like your energy does matter, because when I started, I had no idea who my person was. I had no idea what my niche was, but I knew what my mission was, right? Like, and that was driving me. And I would get clients, but they would be all across the board. I would have a 70-year-old woman and an 18-year-old girl. And like, I would have people all over the place. It was kind of exhausting for me personally to keep up with it. But then as I learned more about business, I kind of like changed my mindset of like, no, it's better to be more specific. Like I personally believe that like there's riches in the niches. And so I'm curious what your thoughts are around like just being a broad spiritual coach versus like someone who's really, really specific, and the levels of success for each person.
The riches, like you said, are 5,000,000% in the niches, like without a doubt. And the more specific you are, because like obviously, of course, there's a difference between niching down and finding your niche. And the niching down, I always recommend it if you can. And now, of course, there's
repeat that again, because that's like this is your world, and I feel like that was really, really good. There's a difference between
finding your niche and niching down,
okay.
Right? So finding your niche, that's communicating your value. That's understanding what you bring to the table. That is what your business is and who you speak to, right? The niching down is getting more specific exactly in who you are speaking to and what your positioning in the marketplace is. Mm-hmm. So, you have the whole empowerment, stepping into yourself side with the niches, but then there's like the real strategy of, okay, how are we getting this out there?
Yeah.
And I truly believe in alignment above all else, because when you are aligned, the universe opens doors, but that does not mean that you don't have strategy alongside of it. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to niching down, you want to get very specific. If you are just jumping out of the gate, right? If you have no clients, you are just jumping out of the gate. The online world is I was going to say noisy. There's no doubt about it.
It's nosy too.
100%. And that's not a bad thing at all. You will shine above if you own who you are, but it's a matter of who you're positioning yourself to. So I always say, get more specific. Now, I understand for the multi-passionate person, they're so sick of hearing that. And I get that. And there's a way for you to be multi-passionate and specific, right? And have everything really looped together. But if you are like a spiritual coach, for instance, instead of saying, for spiritual coaches, get specific. Is it women who are navigating a spiritual awakening? Are you an ascension coach, right? Are you a dark night of the soul coach or anything like that? Like get specific, because there's so much that you can get specific on. You're only going to help yourself by starting with that client base and then refining and expanding as you go. Because your niche may pivot. Your business and your messaging is going to refine, because as you grow as a person, as a CEO, the person you serve will grow with you.
It's so true. It's going to evolve a million times. Like,
right.
And that's going to lead to your $1 million, because that's what happens. Like literally. Exactly. So as you're saying this, I'm hearing the question come up of like, okay, all right, Gabrielle, I hear you. And I'm scared because, the lazy girl, or no, what was your client?
The shy girl.
I'm sorry. The shy girl fitness coach.
Yep.
That's a very specific target market. And there is only a certain number of those people available. Mm-hmm. So how will like it feels so limiting. And I think that that's the problem that a lot of people feel is, and I know I felt that way. It's so limiting to pick a niche. Like it's so limiting. And I couldn't decide. Oh my God, I was the worst. And I swear everything got so much easier when I finally found it. Right. And it found me. But yeah, you could speak on that.
It is scary. Of course it is. And I hear it all the time where it's like, okay, well, there's millions of people out there. Why do I want to just target 500, let's say? Because you will make so much more money with those 500 people versus the 8 million trying to target all of the people out there. Because when you speak directly to that person and you make them feel so seen and heard, and if you're struggling with your dream customer, just speak to a past version of yourself. I always say that. So if you are speaking to that past version of yourself, you're going to start targeting those people. Those people feel so seen and heard from you that they say, she gets it. Mm-hmm. Versus if you're speaking to everybody and, oh yeah, that kind of resonates, but like, not really. Mm-hmm. You're throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that it sticks. This is your business, right? This could potentially become your livelihood if you intend to do this full time. Like this is where the strategy comes into play. The reason why I always say you'll make so much more money when you're super specific to your person is because 1, they feel that's seen and heard. 2, they start working with you. 3, they get the result that you promise because they're aligned with you. You are aligned with them. They put in the work. They see the result. They share that result. Mm-hmm. You then put together a referral program, right? They refer their friends. They get a little commission as a thank you out of your referral program. Their friends start working with you.
Yep.
That person also writes you a glowing testimonial. There's your social proof. And then it evolves. That does not mean that you have to stay niche down forever, right? Like look at the Marie Forleos, the Jenna Kutchers, all that. They're not niche anymore, but it took them baby steps to get where they are. So you're starting in those baby steps, which is such a good place to start. And don't, overlook that by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely start there.
I absolutely love that. It's so true. And I couldn't agree more. And, if you're really, really struggling with this too, like what would you say to someone who's really struggling to figure it out? Actually, I like what you said about just speak to a past version of yourself.
That's it.
So let's just get into that a tiny little bit when it comes to messaging, because I think messaging is a big part of probably what you do with your clients once you get to the point of like figuring out, their value and who they're talking to and all of that. So I think messaging was a thing that I was definitely missing in the beginning of my business. I had no idea what it was. I'm like, yeah, I just want you to like manifest your best life, like that's all. Mm-hmm. And you guys like that's great, right? Manifest your life. I want to help women feel more confident. I want to help women feel more empowered. I'm going to, all of those big words. And so have you ever taken an NLP course? I'm just curious.
I have not, no.
Okay. So in NLP, there's this thing, and all my students who are listening will know, but it's called chunking up and chunking down. Mm-hmm. And in hypnotic language, when you want to hypnotize someone, you chunk up and you get really like ambiguous and conceptual. Mm-hmm. And when you want to take them out of trance, you chunk down and you're getting really, really specific. And cool. So, yeah, it's really cool, like how to speak to the subconscious, but it reminds me of messaging a bit because we're really chunking down.
Yeah. Yep. It makes people uncomfortable and I find that like there's so much healing in business and a lot of people don't talk about that, but there's a lot of healing. Like the amount of healing I had to do to get rid of all of those past, teachers telling me all of that is a lot. And I find that when it comes to your messaging, that's when the cat's really out of the bag. That's when like you're really communicating your value and you're really stepping into yourself. And it's freaking terrifying. It's terrifying, right? And it's like, so that's when I find that people on a deeper level, like that healing work comes in, where they kind of freeze and they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? This is it. And then also like our brains almost distract us from stepping into our highest self because our inner bully or whatever you want to call it is taking control, that it's fluffing up your mind where it's really hard to get a clear picture of what your business is and like what that messaging is. So that's why I always preach, guys, alignment. Find alignment, because when you find that sense of alignment, the downloads come.
Yeah.
Ask the universe, send it to me, and then surrender to it. That's a big piece of it. Because when it comes to messaging, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to finding your niche, and there's a level of that panic, right? Wow, I don't have any clients. What do I do? And a level of like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this, that it sets in. So you just really work hard on surrendering all of it. Ask for the downloads and they're going to come, but you have to be open to receiving them.
You really, really do. I feel like even though I know my niche and I know my messaging, I'm still asking for the downloads of like new messaging, right? Like new ways of saying things in a different way that I haven't said it before to land in a different way. And if you're listening and you still aren't clear on what messaging is, can you give an example of like, we can go back to your client with the guy girl. Yeah.
Yeah. So an example of like solid messaging for people. Yeah. So when it comes down to the messaging piece, guys, and if you're in the spirituality space, it can be hard to be tangible. So to your point, when you said like live your best life, manifest your best life, or feel empowered, you want to try your best to give a tangible end result. And I know that can be hard, but try not to end your I help statement with an emotion the best you can. If you're just starting out, right? This is if you're just jumping out of the gate, have it be tangible in the best way possible. So from a fitness realm, obviously that's easier. And that doesn't mean that you have to say, I help you, lose 10 pounds. Even just saying like, I help you walk back into the gym. That is a physical, tangible, like we're walking back into the gym. Right. And that's it. And so what I find, because I help statements all the time with the messaging, it's people get fluffy, right? Yeah. There's a time for cute and fluffy. Your I help statement is not it. Not the time for cute and fluffy. You want to be straight and to the point. This is who I help, and here's what you will walk away with. And when it comes to your messaging, everyone, it's about your person. It's so easy for us to keep reading it a billion times and being like, is this it? Does this feel good to me? And while it 100% has to feel good to you, it's for your person. You want your person to feel seen and heard, right? So I say all the time, I help people find their niche. Like that's tangible. You will find your niche with me. And then obviously it's longer because I do other things as well. But when it comes to the niche part, it's like, I help you find your niche.
Sign on the door, right? People are struggling. They want their niche. They're going to get so much more. Obviously, I think that's a great point that you bring up. Because I think people feel like, oh, but I do other things too. But what's your sign on the door? What's that one problem that people are having where your service will be a solution? Your coaching will be a solution. Them working with you will be the solution. And then they're like, oh my God, I got my whole life changed working with Gabrielle, not just my niche, you know what I mean? Like all the things. So I think that's a great point.
So many people sell the byproduct. They sell the how. I could say, I help you sit down and figure out your story and figure out what you bring to the table and then put it all together and start a business.
Right.
I help you find your niche, right? Like, so don't focus on the byproduct, which is the how. Focus on who the person is and where they're at, and then sell the problem that you solve. What will they walk away with? What will this help them do? And try to use as little words as possible, which I know feels literally impossible, but really try.
So good. So good. This was awesome. I know that this is resonating with so many people right now. And it's such an important topic because everybody, I don't care what business you're in, you need to figure this out if you don't have it figured out. You got it.
And it evolves. Like I work with people who've been in business like 5-6 years and they're like, all right, this isn't in alignment anymore. What do I do? Like, always know your niche, guys, because then selling becomes easier. Like I always say, your niche, it's your plot of land. Don't build the house before you buy the plot of land.
Love that.
Everything will become easier once you know what it is that you bring to the table. And then that's how you build a brand that sells itself. That's how you have your $1 million niche. It's by owning who you are. It's by staying in alignment, and it's by surrendering it to the universe and being open to receiving those downloads. When your intuition clicks off, run with it.
So good. So good. Okay. I have to ask you, because I ask everyone, what makes Gabrielle Laura a badass manifester?
Honestly, it's my relationship to the universe now. that's it, is I surrender so much and I release the expectations and I just trust whatever's meant for me isn't going to pass me by. And if you asked me this like 3 years ago, Ashley, I would have been like, oh, I don't know, and like, shaking in my boots there, but like, that's it. It's really that. And so I hope everyone listening, like you sit with that and like allow the universe to help guide you. Right. And like, have fun with this all. This is supposed to be a fun journey. Find joy again and just sit with it and trust that intuition of yours.
Yeah, so beautifully said. Thank you so much. This was so great. Amazing.
Thank you, Ashley. It's been so great to connect with you and your people.
So awesome. So where can everyone find you, connect with you, all the things?
Yes. So come hang out with me on Instagram. So it's Gabrielle with 2 E's at the end, Gabrielle Laura. And then also on my website, which is GabrielleLaura.com with just 1 E, which gets kind of confusing.
Amazing. We'll have everything in the show notes. And when we air this episode, like as you're listening, tag us, let us know what resonates with you and what you need support with, because I'm sure Gabrielle can help you. So
absolutely.
Awesome. All right, everyone, have a great day and take some time today and do the work that Gabrielle offered you. Like, do the journaling, write out your story. Like, don't just listen to this and let it pass you by. Like, actually put the work in. That's my wish for you today. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Woo! We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at Manifest with Ash. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get 'em.